Welcome to AM Prime here on the content capital WESN. I'm Leah Ann Jones. The results are in. I'm sure you already know, but just in case you don't, Tuku would have yesterday around lunchtime announced the results of the Carnival 2023 Road March competition. And Bunji Garlin with Hard Fets is your Carnival 2023 Road March champion. Congratulations to Bunji Garlin and his wife, Fayan Lyons Alvarez, who would have co-written the song with him. Nyla Blackman and Skinny Fabulous came in a close second place, with the song being played just 29 times less at the judging points than Hard Fed. So while it was a crowd favorite, it just didn't make 29 times less. And of course, Marshall Montano's Like Yourself, that was sung with Patrice Roberts, came in at third position. Now, a fun fact for you, after the results were announced yesterday, Super Blue, father-in-law of Bunji Garlin, father of Fayan Lyons Alvarez, took to his social media with a fun fact. He would have made the post yesterday, just an hour after the results were announced, stating that in every decade he and his family have won the Road March title. The year that it was won ended with the number 3. So, in 1983, he won with Rebecca. In 1993, he won again with Bacchanal Time. In 2003, his daughter, Fayan Lyons, won with Display. In 2013, he won again with Fantastic Friday. And now in 2023, Bunji Garlin, his son-in-law, won the Road March title with Hard Fat. Quite interesting news. Not sure of the significance of the number 3, but I'm sure somebody will be there to tell us. Now, Tuco announced that they teamed up with Visit Trinidad for the prize, the competition prize money, as well as the title for this year's Road March competition winner. And the recipients Bunji Garlin will receive $250,000 courtesy Visit Trinidad as well as bragging rights for the Road March title for the rest of the year. Congratulations to all competition winners for Carnival 2023. The large band of the year title went to Ronnie and Caro with their presentation entitled Paradise. Medium bands, K2K Alliance and Associates, they came first with World War in the Time of Salome. And in the small band category, Tribal Connection placed first with National Pride. The Panorama Champs, of course, BP Renegades of the large bands, and Cats and Jammers out of Tobago with the medium band title. And of course, Calypso Monarch 2023 winner, Dwayne O'Connor. To all other winners, congratulations and a solid job well done to all involved in the production that was Carnival 2023. Let's take a look at what's happening in news around us now. In regional news, interesting news coming out of Barbados. Recently speaking at the arrival of the Sandy Lane Barbados Gold Cup on Monday, Minister of Youth, Sports and Community Empowerment, Charles Griffith, said plans were on the way to develop a horse racing academy in Barbados this year. Nation News Barbados has more on this.
I want to say thank you to the captain and his crew for ensuring that we have the Gold Cup on land in this country once again, and ensure that the numbers at the garrison come March the 4th will surpass maybe anything that happened before. Now, I want to say to you that government is not familiar with the type of jobs that can be created as a result of horse racing. We just need to cast our minds on what is happening in North America to see how persons from Barbados are impacting horse racing in that neck of the woods. And I would want to say this evening that the ministry is actively, plans are in train to ensure that we have a horse racing academy located right here in Barbados, because we believe that a number of our youngsters can benefit from such an entity coming on board. So my staff, we're actively looking to see how best that we can have this horse racing academy started this year. We have identified a plantation that we're looking to see how we can best start the process there. I'm sure Ms. Pierce is familiar with this. So we believe that horse racing can create a number of jobs. We believe that we can export persons, as we're doing now, to other jurisdictions to ensure that employment is something that is had. And if we continue to do what we're doing in terms of excelling, you have Patrick husbands and others who are doing training, then it is a thing that can happen on the island where young persons on this island will gravitate to horse racing. I was not aware of so many jobs that are available in the horse racing industry. And I think about 20 or 25 jobs were indicated as being possible in this.
A horse racing academy to be developed in Barbados this year. We look forward to more news coming out of Barbados on this. And in international news, the war in Ukraine continues almost 1 year later, where hundreds of thousands of lives were lost, millions driven out of their homes, and cities reduced to rubble, with still no end in sight. France 24 has more on this.
Situation there remains very difficult indeed. Our team was in the trenches alongside Ukrainian soldiers operating an artillery unit. Their material dated from the 1970s, from the Soviet Union, and they say they are struggling to get enough ammunition for that. They're worried about that as they head forward into spring and into the summer, when they would hope to be going on the offensive. At the moment, they're trying to hold the Ukrainian line in the face of waves and waves of Russian soldiers, men advancing, which they see with drone technology. So that push very much underway, they say, and they are firing thousands of shells every day to try and hold the line. Morale remains quite high, I would say. They say they know they're in it for the long term, but they are worried about the lack of ammunition. And lots of them saying they haven't seen any American or Western donated weaponry yet. One senior commander in the East told us that around 3/4 of the material they're using still dates from that Soviet era. And we know there are supply line issues with getting enough munitions for that. So it's urgent there for the men in those freezing conditions, which frankly resemble something out of the First World War there on the Eastern Front.
I've seen figures, Catherine, that something like 5,000 to 6,000 shells are being fired by the Ukrainians on a daily basis, around the quota a small NATO country gets for the whole year. So you have Jens Stoltenberg calling for new arms to be sent quickly, and new ammunition. But that's all right saying that. What's the spirit like on the ground in terms of that mentality to keep going for the Ukrainians?
So there is a war fatigue setting in amongst some of the soldiers we've spoken to. I mean, they're determined to hold their ground because for them, this fight is existential. It's about keeping their country, so they know they must continue in this grinding artillery war, which is what it principally is for the moment. Amongst the people of Ukraine, again, this determination which we've seen for the past year. The visit of the US President Joe Biden was a massive boost for people here psychologically. It's difficult to overstate that. And actually, some people have told us that, you know, they no longer feel afraid in the way that they did coming up to the 24th of February last year, that this year they're determined to carry on. They know they have the support of the Western allies and Europe. They want more. But also it's brought them together and mobilized Ukrainian society in quite an incredible way. We're still seeing these massive aid efforts of people coming together and getting food, medicine, shelter, warm clothing for Ukrainian troops at the front line, and people still evacuating people from those hardest hit areas. So 1 year on, this is a country that remains galvanized, but they know they're in it for the long term. They don't see, many of those that I've been speaking to, this war ending anytime soon.
The war in Ukraine continues 1 year later. We continue to keep the citizens of Ukraine in our prayers and hope and pray for an end to the Ukraine-Russian war. Back home to some local news. As we wind down from Carnival 2023 season, Chairman of the Downtown Carnival Committee announced the results of the Downtown Carnival competitions on Wednesday. The TNT Newsday has more on this.
In second position, we had Paparazzi Carnival led by Tracy Andrew, portrayal of Recovery Beats. And the large bands Carnival Tuesday under the goes to Ronnie and Carol Mans, band leader Ronnie McIntosh, portrayal This is Paparazzi. In third position, we had a selection in June. Artist Olatunji, total of 12 hits. In second position, we have a composition by Nyla Blackman and Speedy Fabulous, from whom played a total of 49 times. And in first position, the Dr. Carnival Committee, Road March, title champion Mr. Ian Alvarez, Wanji Garden, Perfect, with a total of 71. Say a special thanks to Dr. Carnival Committee for all the work that was done leading up to and during the 2023 Dr. Carnival celebration. And I say a special thanks to the Police City Corporation, Municipal Police, who have ensured that we have a free Dr. Carnival stage. A special thanks as well to the Police City Corporation Public Health Department, who have ensured that public safety health was always something of importance. And last but not least, I'd like to thank the National Carnival Commission for once again partnering with the Port of Spain City Corporation to ensuring that the capital city of Trinidad and Tobago, Port of Spain, remains the home of Carnival. Thank you.
Congratulations once again to all our Carnival 2023 competition winners. And moving into some entertainment news, Patrice Roberts will be performing at the Toronto Raptors Caribbean Night later this evening during the Toronto Raptors versus New Orleans Pelicans halftime intermission at the Scotiabank Arena. Millions of viewers will be able to witness the artist perform her hits. We wish her all the best with this exciting opportunity, and we know she's going to represent the red, white, and black to perfection. Let's take a look at what's coming up in today's show. Carla Paris, entertainment and sports lawyer, will be joining us to discuss the business of Carnival. Penelope Spencer and Cecilia Salazar are teaming up to bring more comedy to local audiences. And after the break, in the second hour, we have first place winner of the 2023 Carnival, Calypso Monarch, Dwayne O'Connor. We're going to take a quick break and come back with our first interview this morning. Stay tuned.
FanZone, your reliable, authentic supplier, has just gotten better. You can now visit our website www.fanzonett.com for your authentic wear and collectibles. The only place where you can use both your Visa debit and credit cards. Visit our website fanzonett.com to make your purchase today.
Join me, Sule A. Joseph, as I delve into the day-to-day psychological issues plaguing our society. We will discuss behaviors that encompass the biological influences, social pressures, and environmental factors that affect how you think, act, and feel. Sight, Thursdays at 11:30 a.m., only on WESN, Content Capital.
Take some time for yourself or spend some time with the family at Sandy Point Village Hotel. Enjoy our various studio and suite apartments, self-contained with their own kitchenettes and Wi-Fi. We also have our famous 100-foot swimming pool and our beachfront restaurant, the Steak and Lobster Grill. And our location in Crown Point puts us near the center of activity from the nylon pool to the local nightlife. Call us and make your reservations at 639-8533, 389-2378, or email us at sandypointvillagehotel@gmail.com.
I am Rondell Donowa, attorney at law and host of Strictly Legal on WESN Content Capital. Strictly Legal is a legal program geared towards informing you, the public, of your legal rights, responsibilities, and remedies. So be viewing Thursdays, 10 a.m. to 10:30 a.m.
Every word, every line, every paragraph depicts a real moment in someone's life. A father, a sister, a mother, a brother. We at Newsday are dedicated to you, the people, and through independent, unwavering journalism, strive to always bring your stories to life. Because your stories are more than just words. Newsday, independent and credible.
Catholics around the world celebrated Ash Wednesday yesterday. And Ash Wednesday is known as the official start of the Lenten period for many Catholics. So joining us this morning via Zoom is Father Stephen Alexander, parish priest of St. Martin de Porres, and he's also the general manager of the Catholic Commission for Social Justice. Good morning, Father Stephen.
Good morning. How are you?
I am fine, thank you. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me, and hello, good morning to all your viewers.
Now, we know Easter is one of the most important celebrations on the Catholic calendar. But before we get into Easter, there's a period of fasting that lasts for approximately 6 weeks, 40 days, called Lent.
Yes.
Right. So Ash Wednesday signals the start of Lent. We go to Mass, we get our ashes. For those of the viewers who may not know, can you tell us about Ash Wednesday, its origin and significance to the Catholic faith?
How long do we have? Because that's a question that could take us into years of discussion. But
Summarize first. Give us the layman's version for persons who are not knowledgeable of the faith.
All right, cool. So I like how you couch that introduction in terms of Lent as a preparation for Easter, because that's actually what it is. And Ash Wednesday itself, signifying that start of that period, is rooted in that tradition of the Abrahamic faiths. So Catholicism itself, Christianity, comes as one of the branches of the Abrahamic faiths, which, and Catholicism in particular, has Judaic or Jewish roots. So there are biblical and historic grounds for Ash Wednesday, for why it takes place, why it signals the beginning. And most of those come from Scripture itself. We look at many Old Testament indications as to why fasting, as to why ashes, as to why these things happen. And what, if we go straight back to Genesis, what we see is that one of the phrases used in the liturgy for Ash Wednesday, "You are dust and to dust you shall return," that's somewhere about chapter 3 of the book of Genesis. We see that after the fall from sin, when Adam and Eve has sinned. And so it's a reminder of our mortality. It's a symbol of mortality in itself. And it's a reality that, death has entered into the world. So suffering might have been always part of the human condition. It's, as it were, been, it's been enhanced, so to speak, if that's a word that could be used. Perhaps not the best word to use, it's what comes to mind. But definitely suffering and death is there. And so Ash Wednesday brings that into focus. Bringing that into focus, it's about really our relationship with God and with each other and where we are, and bringing us back into that place where we're not focusing on self-interest and whatnot, but on who we are with each other, who we are before God. And in the book of Job, in the book of Daniel, in one of the books in the Catholic scriptures, the Maccabees, which don't appear in the non-Catholic Bibles, we see that invitation into fasting, into repentance, and in the use of ashes, sprinkling on the forehead as a sign or a mark of returning to trusting God, returning to really that state of who we are, taking note of God's love and God's desire for us, and of course of our need to trust God if we are to move forward.
We would have seen a number of Catholics walking around yesterday with the symbol, the cross symbol on their forehead. Tell us about the significance, particularly of some of the symbols that are associated with the Lenten period moving into Easter. So we have the ashes, we have the palms, we have the crucifix as well. Tell us about the significance of the ash in particular that people, would have had on their heads yesterday as Catholics.
Great. So I like to describe that as a statement of intent, as it were. And it's a statement of a personal intent that one has for themselves, because Lent is a period of reflection and self-awareness, but that must lead to something that is public. So one of the ways in which we like to look at faith itself is by saying that faith is personal, but it's not private. And so that's an element of that comes out in the wearing of the ashes, and something that's quite personal to me and to each person who would submit themselves to the imposition of ashes. They're saying to themselves that I am in need of God, that I am not an entity within myself who can guarantee all that I need in life, etc., but I depend on this God, and that this God who loves me desires my salvation. Having recognized that I have need for God, and having recognized that in many ways I've turned away from him, I place that symbol upon myself to remind myself, but also to remind others and to show to others, because, sometimes we find that when we do something privately, we could easily turn away from it. But when we make a public statement of it, accountability enters into it. It's then that sense of, okay, I made this declaration and I need to step up to the plate and I need to be accountable for having done this.
No.
So,
sorry,
yeah.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, well, that's the ashes, but you mentioned the cross, the crucifix, the palms, etc. These are also wonderful symbols. They are all things that point towards the journey that Christians make that follow the journey of Jesus himself. The palms, of course, on Palm Sunday, his entry into Jerusalem, triumphant in 1 minute, and mere hours later, the cross appeared. And that cross is where our sins were nailed, where salvation occurred, where death was conquered, and where grace prevailed. So these are tremendous symbols for us, and they are a symbol itself of us journeying along with Christ on this journey to God.
Now, Ash Wednesday in many Catholic communities and countries also signals the end, very abruptly, of a carnival season. Specifically here in Trinidad and Tobago, Ash Wednesday is tied very closely to our carnival culture. So Catholics and Christians alike, they prepare as soon as Tuesday is over, Tuesday midnight, that's it. No more soca, no more alcohol, no more you give up certain, we'll get into fasting next. But tell us a little bit about that switch, that significance of carnival, the end of carnival moving into Ash Wednesday. I think a lot of persons, or there are some persons who may not realize that Ash Wednesday is not a result of carnival, rather carnival dates are set around the Catholic calendar marking Ash Wednesday.
Yes. So it's interesting, the words that you just used there, and that abrupt sense, and that's specific and that's intended. It's actually quite a profound movement if we include all of Carnival. We look at Juve, and we look at that transition from mud, which is perhaps icky and dirty and not something that we would regularly submit ourselves to, into the creativity and the brilliance of our pretty mass and pan and everything else that is there. And then we move into austerity and into a sense of reverence and a sense of that smooth yet abrupt transition that really marks a change that goes back to the cosmos, and when I say cosmos used loosely here, it marks the geographical changing of seasons, etc. And so Easter, Lent, all these things actually coincide with specific seasons. And so, yes, Easter is identified, Lent moves backwards from there, and Carnival moves backwards. So it's not that Lent follows Carnival, but Carnival has been placed before Lent. And one of the reasons for that, well, Carnival as we know it now is quite different as it began, coming from historic realms. We look at that sense of what is that transition from a complete focus on our humanity to the call of divinity and that preparation. You know, most people, before you're going on a diet, if I am to make this analogy, before you go on a diet, you might want to binge and to do whatever it is because I'm going to stop that tomorrow. In a sense, and I'm using that quite loosely, in a sense, that's kind of one of the aspects of what happens there. It's that reminder of where I am and what I've been involved in, engaging in, and the reminder of where I am intended to be, where I would like to go, and the movement, the quite abrupt shift that might be necessary in order for that to take place. We know the word from drug addiction programs and all these different things, even relationships, when they use clean break and cold turkey. And in a way, those are analogies that could be used to identify what really happens there. That just clean break with what existed before, as we desire to move into a new and more fulfilling reality.
And is there any conflict in the sense that what some would term the wildness or the debauchery that takes place on the road Monday and Tuesday, or even in the fêtes Juve and the fêtes preceding Lent? Is there any conflict in the mind of the faith as it pertains to what happens next?
That's an interesting question, you know, and I thank you for it. The reality of it is, generally, there is no need for conflict, but the reality of excess and how we perceive things and how we live things, there many might have seen, those who went out to Carnival might have seen a few priests and different people who they consider to be holy and not to be, they shouldn't be there. And yet they were. And one should take note of how certain people conduct themselves. And here it is a sense of a self-conviction and looking at, you know, am I able to enjoy the culture, the creativity, to enjoy all the beauty of what we are as a people and not sully it or overdo it in a way that might not be good for me. And so in that way, I would suggest that, you know, a conflict can arise, but generally speaking, none needs to exist. None need to exist because our humanity is a gift from God. And our humanity is something that is glorious and that needs to be celebrated. And I am fully in favor of that. I mean, I grew up in Carnival and I have no objections to Carnival and these things like that. But there are levels of indecency and different things that occur that really, I mean, they're not, from my perspective, this is me speaking personally, really, you know, there's no need for it, you know, in Carnival or perhaps elsewhere.
Now, you would have mentioned the period of fasting, the significance of the 40 days of fasting. What are some of the various ways in which Christians, Catholics choose to fast or can fast in modern times? Now, we know fasting people tend to go overboard. People could be drastic. People could decide, okay, I want to do an easy thing because I want to make this 40 days count. I want to do it for the 40 days. What are some of the ways in modern times we see where prices of fish and seafood tend to skyrocket during the Lenten period? So sometimes it makes no sense based on the traditional methods of fasting from meat and that kind of stuff. Tell us what are some, in your experience, what are some of the modern day ways that persons fast or can fast for the Lenten period?
I so love that question. I think, let me start by saying that, Lent is an invitation for us to listen for the voice of the Lord and to enter into his peace. And within the concept of fasting, it's the addition of prayer and entering into that peace with the element of sacrifice. That sacrifice itself could be giving up something, but in more modern times, it could also be taking on something. It could be doing something quite intentionally that is meant to help and to benefit someone else. It could, as many do, it could be a sacrifice that means I get up a little earlier, or that instead of bathing in hot water, that I might allow at least one day for the week or something like that to bathe in that cold water. And what that does within me internally should provoke an external reaction. Some people might decide, okay, I give up meat, or that I'm going to eat less. How does that impact the life of others? Because charity is one of the hallmarks of Lent itself. So there's prayer, there's fasting, and there is charity, often seen as almsgiving. The fast and the charity are very primed to be connected. And so within the idea of fasting, modern is the word you use, which is a nice way of looking at it. Modern applications of it can see that connection and can see there that we can take on something additional to ourselves, as in helping someone who might be in need. I know many persons who have decided they are going to sponsor a child, particularly during this period, as they lead up to the SEA examinations, and helping parents with lessons and providing different items for them. There are persons who have identified a family that they would assist. One of the things that we do traditionally on Holy Thursday, when we celebrate the institution of the priesthood and Eucharist, is that there's the tradition of the bringing bread. Just as bread was blessed, bread is blessed on that day and it's given to poorer families. The tradition has, in modern times, expanded. So now you find Holy Thursday, Good Friday, Holy Saturday, that a lot of churches go out and prepare hampers and distribute, or they invite poorer families to come in. And those are ways in which the fasting and the charity can easily be connected by giving something extra. Most might tend to think money is what we give, but we can give of ourselves in many other ways as well. We have, for instance, in my own parish, we have persons who are very involved in PAN and the arts and stuff like that. And they've decided to give their time in mentoring and helping people, particularly during these times and leading into the vacation period. And so these are all creative ways in which we can do that.
Thank you, Father Stefan. We've unfortunately run out of time this morning. I want to thank you for joining us this morning and for discussing the Lenten period.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Take care.
All the best. We're going to take a quick break and come back with more here on AM Prime.
What's the best way to grab the attention of viewers?
Please exercise more patience. You have to be kidding me.
Doing what we do best. I'll say at the very least it's a conspiracy of laziness against the people.
Join me, Keaton Shaw.
And me, Sean Michael Small, for Talking Point.
Weekdays from 8 a.m. to 9:30 a.m.
We go in-depth on the trending issues and engage the most controversial newsmakers
as we get them to account to the people for their actions.
You can't go to the government with nothing. You can't go to cabinet with an empty hand, with a wish.
I'm glad that we're having this a sober, mature discussion.
In the present situation, I expect a continuation of the chaos.
Join us for the discussion, Mondays to Fridays,
only on WESN,
the content capital.
The issue, the continued rise in the price of flour and its impact on the cost of living in Trinidad and Tobago. How should we go about it? I want to ask you what has been revealed to you about the state of vulnerability in the country because of this exercise and because of what we're going through. Is the government losing the war on the vaccine front?
The discussion should revolve around the common good for the greatest number of people in Trinidad and Tobago.
How do we inculcate a sense of respect and regard for people who may not be of your own political ilk or persuasion?
The communities are now being used by political opportunists. So
when the tables are turned, it's the same way. Okay, this has been 10 questions. I'm Andy Johnson, and we'll see you next time.
Is it politics? What is it? Is it that nobody cares about sports?
The kind of support that sport used to get in the past is no longer here.
The thing is, taking a knee doesn't mean that that's the only thing you're doing now, Andy.
Right.
Taking a knee along with other stuff.
Samantha, what are you looking forward to when you return home to Trinidad and Tobago after winning the title?
Thank you very much for speaking it into existence.
Is there no pressure on Nicholas Ball?
It makes me more motivated to work hard and to go out there and rep the red, white and black.
Why are we sending a team to the Winter Olympics?
There are a number of Trinidadians who are in the diaspora and have grown up in winter sport. It's an opportunity that the Trinidad and Tobago Olympic Committee will not close the door on.
I also believe in the players that we have. Once you can motivate the players, you can get the best out of them.
Welcome back. Thanks for joining. Thanks for staying with us. Joining us now via Zoom is Ms. Carla Paris, entertainment and sports lawyer, and she's also the CEO of the Business of Carnival platform. Good morning, Carla.
Hi, good morning. Thank you for having me.
All right. Thanks for joining us this morning. Now, you speak and meet with promoters, entertainers, entrepreneurs, business owners, everyone, a lot of persons who would have been involved in the production, and I want to call it a production because Carnival 2023 is a series of events and fetes that take place over, a number of weeks. Tell me about your what are your thoughts on the production that was Carnival 2023?
Well, what I would say is this, and that, Carnival was heavily touted as, there was this catchphrase, the mother of all carnivals. In my opinion, it was not. At this point, what we would have definitely had was a reintroduction to Carnival, where many event producers, fed promoters, third-party vendors were able to reintroduce their products to the audience, to the consumers, whether it be from locally, internationally, the Caribbean diaspora. But I don't think the level of profits that were expected, the level of revenue met at all the initial projections.
Right. So we would have heard from event promoters. We would have heard just recently from the Tobago CEO of festivals that the turnout was poor. The turnout of the audience at the fetes, at the shows was poor, was a lot less than previous pre-COVID years. What do you think would have been the reason for this?
Well, I think the state of the economy, quite honestly, I think that a lot of persons, consumers, let's put it that way, they just weren't able to rebound in time. Remember, for the past 2 years, so many people have been laid off or their companies have shrunk in size. So what you found happen is that whereas in previous years, people would have had there's sort of a top 10 list of events that you have to go to. And if you don't go, there's a level of FOMO, fear of missing out. That just wasn't the case this year. People literally picked and chose which events they could go to and practically, stuck to that. Of course, there would have been standout events that you would have seen, CIC FET, for example, was a top winner in that regard. DJ Private Ryan with his Soca Brainwash was a big turnout. Those events had in common, however, apart from excellent marketing and huge patronage and loyalty, fan loyalty, let's call it that, they had just amazing decor, huge infrastructural elements, which people would have been aware of beforehand. So there were experiential aspects to these events that would have influenced persons' decisions to go in advance. And in CIC FET's case, of course, there would have been the whole question of it being a school FET. So persons wanting to contribute and be part of that whole that movement.
Now, we would have had Laura Dorridge, media personality, on the show last week. And I would have asked her about the numerous complaints that we would have seen on social media by patrons complaining about value for money, essentially, in the FETs this year. And her explanation, she said that, we need to give the FET promoters some grace. This year was the first year after 2 years of absolute nothing. They weren't able to make money. Some of them lost a lot in terms of career and finances and that kind of stuff during the COVID break. So she is saying that, she explained that we need to give them a little grace. They came out to, make back that money this year while still trying to give patrons, what they were accustomed to in terms of their experiences. You would have highlighted 2 FETs that were highly acclaimed this year, but then there were some others that patrons would have complained about that, they as well would have expected a certain level of service of the experience they would have gotten in previous years, but they were disappointed. How do you feel about that take on the value for money patrons got this year in some carnival FETs?
Yeah, no, I agree with the sentiments that you expressed from your previous guest, Laura Dowridge, and that we do need to apply some level of grace to the event producers because they would have been dealing with a lot of these spin-off effects of the pandemic also. So, for example, I know that with many of them who I engaged with in my law practice, they were seeing that the level of sponsorship that they would have been accustomed to in the past, whether it be financial or intangible via in-kind contributions, which would have been, of course, cases of alcohol, whatever it might be, were significantly reduced. So in that event, when you no longer have the type of, let's call it auxiliary sort of buttressing of your event, it is going to have an effect on the patrons. Also, apart from the reduction in the sponsorship, my understanding is that the supply, many of the third party or the vendors who would have been supplying, materials to the event promoters, their costing also went up as a result of what has happened nationally. We saw that also in a carnival costume distribution, where there were many people who were quite happy with their experience when they showed up, to collect their costumes, but there were many others. In fact, I found it a little shockingly so, who were not at all happy with the quality of the costumes that came in. Pieces were missing, feathers weren't to the same standard, and my understanding there from engaging with some of the carnival costume designers and mass camps was that they too had supply chain issues in the last quarter of the year, some of them from China, where there was a holiday in one case, some of the workers did not come out in the numbers as expected, so it had a trickle-down effect on us, the consumers.
So understandably so, there would have been some teething issues going into Carnival 2023, into the production. We understand that, and we're hoping for bigger and better next year. Now, what would have been some of the positives? What would have been some of the good things happening this year in Carnival 2023? We know some of the bands introduced new innovations such as costume delivery in their costume distribution process. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting the use of technology that some of the bands, implemented. So whereas before we know you would have had the issue of ordering a costume online and then go into the distribution center and, being subjected to waiting for hours, to collect this costume, some of them implemented delivery systems where you could have uploaded your receipts, had made a decision as to whether you wanted it to be delivered to your home via DHL, whether you wanted to go and in person with a specific appointment. In the case of bands like K2K, I noticed that they were using NFT technology. So there were a lot of interesting uses of technology, intellectual property that I found quite fascinating. However, even in those instances, there were still some significant teething issues with the courier systems, where there was not a clear connection between the time that your costume was supposed to be delivered to you versus the time that you would have selected online. So many challenges with the innovations, but I think the fact that the technologies have been implemented is a step in the right direction and a demonstration that some of the bands appreciate that customer service, speed in delivery, efficiency in delivery is important to the business of Carnival distribution, though tweaks certainly need to be made ahead of next year.
And what would you say are some of the other positives coming out of the production of this year's Carnival?
I liked, in particular, some of the events. For example, the soca event that was produced by Adrian Schoon. He had a whole sort of festival, 3-day festival, which was largely centered around Pan, the infusion of Pan, and that was fascinating because we do need to remember that we have a whole generation of Carnival consumers coming up behind us. And we always have the complaint that a lot of the cultural aspects are being lost. The love of Pan isn't being passed down to the younger generation. And that event in particular, I think demonstrates that there's huge potential for integration of Pan, the steel pan, sort of into the new age, younger market. So I thought that was excellent. And the fact that it's, again, a 3-day festival, which could be almost touted as a product on its own. Because I had friends, for example, from different parts of the world, Bahamas, Bermuda, who actually flew in just for that festival because they said the ticket prices were cheaper, the hotel accommodation was significantly less, and they got a taste of that Carnival experience without having to be worried about the cost of the flights to come closer to the Carnival season. So I thought that was quite good. I also enjoyed the fact that the Greens returned. Of course, we had North Stand, Greens, is always that debate in terms of who's going where. Again, it was good to see that Pan, again, was reinvigorated among the youth and, sort of the Carnival market in general. And the turnout was exceptional. People enjoyed it. It was well run. So those were definite positives in my mind.
Now, Carla, you are in the business of Carnival quite literally. Before we go to your platform and your online academy, we would have seen the return of Pan on the Greens, as you would have said. We would have seen how Pantry & Vega would have made that work for them in terms of that model being sustainable, despite a little drawback they had in previous years compared to Soca Monarch, International Soca Monarch, which is a staple in our carnival, on our carnival calendar, which did not take place this year in the mother of all carnivals. What are your thoughts on the sustainability? There are calls for International Soca Monarch to be brought back in a way that can be sustainable and income can be made throughout the year and geared towards making that less reliant on government subvention. What are your thoughts on this?
I'm a huge proponent, and I have been for, I would say, my entire career, in this industry, as long as I've had my practice, which has been 12 years. I'm a huge proponent of developing sustainable businesses, sustainable models that are not dependent on government subventions or government intervention as their sort of main source of generating any kind of revenue. So I think with the Soca Monarch cancellation, ISM cancellation, there were a lot of mixed reactions and mixed views on it. I mean, my take on it is that it has been a humongous and just massively important staple in our calendar, not just in terms of the development of artists, the showcasing of artists, but also just in terms of sort of a cultural, the world of what we are about. Needless to say, the fact remains that over the past couple of years, we have had a dwindling in the crowds. We have had a reduction in the interest, not just from the audience, but also the artists themselves who want to take part. So I think the fact that they are where they are shows that, yes, there needs to be a total reimagination of how that event is run, and a way longer lead time ahead of a carnival to reach out to potential brand partners, sponsors, partners, co-production partners who can sit and really think about how can this be a product that generates revenue for us, hits the mark in terms of the mission and vision of the product, and really in that way can become a viable product for all. Because a lot of people were saying, well, why didn't these sponsors pull them out, or corporate sector pull them out? But I mean, my view on it, it's not the job of corporate sector to invest in a product that may or may not be dying. The job of a corporate sector is to invest in a product where there are mutually beneficial returns. And it is the role of a product owner to demonstrate why this is a viable partnership for you and how your product can be made more visible to your potential audience. So if there's no clarity that the audience that this particular event, Soca Monarch, is hosting, can in any way turn product off of these shelves, generate sales for a sponsor, then it may not be a good fit beyond the standard corporate social responsibility. And in this market, in this economic time frame, a lot of corporate entities simply don't have the budget to allow for CSR alone to be the model.
Thank you for that, caller. Tell us about the Business of Carnival, your Business of Carnival series and e-learning platform.
So a couple of years ago, in 2018, our first product was our web series, where I interviewed many of the top, you would call it, carnival entrepreneurs in the space. So my real interest in Carnival is to demonstrate that the stakeholders aren't simply soca artists. They're a huge aspect, but we also have photographers, videographers, designers, mass camp leaders, and so forth, of course, vendors, who contribute to our ecosystem and whose role should be promoted and understood. However, it's clear that the legal aspect, the intellectual property aspect in Carnival is largely misunderstood. How do we generate wealth through royalties, through photography earnings, that type of thing? So we produced this series, and now it's airing on the international platform, the Roku channel. What we would have realized during the pandemic, when we ourselves had an opportunity to reflect on our business and our product, with that the web series was great in terms of providing education to the but many of these stakeholders, meaning the carnival entrepreneurs themselves, as well as the corporate entities who engage in Carnival, needed deeper educational models, so master classes, courses that they could take to elevate themselves and educate themselves on how to really do proper business in this sector. Because the reality is not everybody wants to be a lawyer or should be a lawyer or should be a business owner per se, but you need to understand how to do business. And we pioneered this Business of Carnival Online Academy, where last year around October, we launched our platform. It is an e-learning platform where we have our first masterclass on brand protection and influencer marketing. So really who it's targeted to are carnival entrepreneurs, as well as this first class is for persons within the marketing department, corporate communications departments of companies who engage in the entertainment and carnival sector. So you wanting to understand how to develop a strong brand, how to develop a strong brand that has a legal basis. Are your trademarks owned? Have you registered the names of all these new products you develop in the carnival market? How do you advertise legally on social media? Because people have noticed, of course, in the pandemic, not just pandemic, this carnival, I saw a lot of events with sponsored posts on social media. So therefore you're using footage, music and so forth, but a lot of it wasn't material that actually belonged to the event producers. So you're actually infringing IP belonging to others. And then of course the whole question of engaging with our local influencers to develop and market your products rather than relying simply on corporate sponsors and that type of thing. So really, we are developing this ecosystem to really elevate the standards of business. And our first masterclass, which is already there, it's online, it's accessible at a cost of $60 USD on our website, is there for persons to purchase, and you have access to the class for lifetime.
Thank you very much, Carla. Unfortunately, we've run out of time, so we just want to encourage you to check out the e-learning platform, the new e-learning platform on the Carnival of Business. And they're offering a masterclass on, tell us again, Carla, before we wrap.
It's called Brand Protection and Influencer Marketing. So it's about marketing your Carnival business and understanding the legal and business aspects of doing so.
Thank you so much for joining us this morning, Carla Paris, entertainment and sports lawyer in the business of Carnival here in Trinidad and Tobago. Thanks again. The news is on at the top of the hour. We'll be back.
Seven is out. All day is in. WESN News on the hour.
Every day, we communicate through stories. Stories of ourselves, our challenges, our goals, our experiences, and our aspirations. Storytelling is an art that we have mastered. WESN Film Studios comprises a collaborative team of experts with extensive industry experience locally, regionally, and internationally. The ability of your business to successfully communicate with your preferred audience depends on the strength of the stories you tell. Your vision should be communicated in a high-quality, professional, and creative way. From concept to post-production, advertising to film, multi-camera productions, live events, streaming, and virtual conferencing, we are WESN Film Studio. Let your own unique voice be heard and your vision realized. Call us today at 628-5835 for your next production.
With society plagued by a host of issues, with debates surrounding our urgent concerns falling short, with questions of our future not always being answered.
The conversation continues. Join me, Kemuel Pascal, as the voice of the youth comes to life. We will confront the controversial topics of today's world to gain answers that are key for a better tomorrow. One and One with me, Kemuel Pascal. Wednesdays at 10 a.m. Only on WESN Content Capital.
Join me, Sule A. Joseph, as I delve into the day-to-day psychological issues plaguing our society. We will discuss behaviors that encompass the biological influences, social pressures, and environmental factors that affect how you think, act, and feel. Site, Thursdays at 11:30 a.m., only on WESN, Content Capital.
Join me, Dr. Nalini Kokram, on What's Up Doc, where we discuss all your burning questions concerning health.
Trinidad and Tobago is among one of the highest risk group of patients that develop this form of genetic breast cancer.
What I'd like to take home from a short interview like this, screening.
you must scream.
Because it's silent.
It's silent.
Yeah.
And because it's silent, you don't know it's there.
What's Up, Doc? Every Tuesday and Thursday on WESN, Content Capital.
Take some time for yourself or spend some time with the family at Sandy Point Village Hotel. Enjoy our various studio and suite apartments, self-contained with their own kitchenettes and Wi-Fi. We also have our famous 100-foot swimming pool and our beachfront restaurant, the Steak and Lobster Grill. And our location in Crown Point puts us near the center of activity from the nylon pool to the local nightlife. Call us and make your reservations at 639-8533, 389-2378, or email us at sandypointvillagehotel@gmail.com.
Thanks for staying with us here on AM Prime. Now joining us this morning, we have acting and theatre giants here in Trinidad and Tobago, Penelope Spencer and Cecilia Salazar of PC Productions. And they're here to tell us about Trinbago Sweet Too Bad, and that's their upcoming production happening this weekend at the Central Bank Auditorium. Good morning, Ms. Salazar, Ms. Spencer.
Good morning.
Good morning, Leslie. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago.
Welcome. Thanks for joining us. Tell us, what can we expect of Trinbago Sweet Too Bad? Tell us about the production.
Oh,
you can expect comedy, full, real comedy. You could expect juicy stories. You know, we are looking at Trinbago. We are looking at ourselves and we are laughing at ourselves and appreciating the things that we do and the way we do it. It's 4 vignettes and it's going to be from 6 p.m. to on a Sunday we have it, and Saturday it's 8 p.m. and it's just fun comedy, good clean comedy.
And who else can we expect in the cast?
Well, it's Penelope and myself, and we have Arnold Goindinghan, Penny. You all may know him from Westwood Park and many other plays. And of course, we have Rhodey, who is not a stranger to people right now with his wonderful characters on TikTok. And we have 4 young actors joining us. Benita, Joshua, Nicholas, and Carlina. Yes, 4 young up-and-coming actors. One of them, Nicholas, is in NTAT, National Theatre, and the others all came out of Necessary Arts with Penelope. So, you know, it's a mix, and we have young people joining us on stage. And the vignettes, well, we call them vignettes, they're sketches. And people keep asking me, and as Penny pulls from life, there is so much material out there in Trinidad on a daily basis. So much bacchanal. You just have to pick up this, and you're like, oh my gosh, I can make a play out of that. Oh my gosh, I can make a play out of that. So that's what we did. Reflect life in Trinidad in a very humorous way.
So you are both responsible for the content, for the playwriting?
Penny is the playwright. I come up with ideas sometimes. I'll call and say, Penny, write about this. Or Penny, I have this idea for a character that I want to play.
Okay.
And she will write it.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about PC Productions. Now, PC stands for Penelope and Cecilia. Did I get it right?
Yes. It could be on a good day. And other day it could be plenty comedy. You know, there could be different names for that PC. But for right now, it's Penny and Cecilia. And we have been in existence about the last 3 years or so. Our PC Production was born out of the need to get money and to be able to fund ourselves during the COVID period. And we came up with Stephen Dubal was one of the persons who asked us to do some of our plays and do some of our stories online, you know. And so we did 2 plays online.
Yeah.
And then
during the COVID, yeah.
Yeah, during the COVID. And then we did our camp online to Camp Tipitambo. So, we've been doing theatre and always with a focus on Trinbago. and always about a positive look at us as a people, you know, and laughing at ourselves.
And what happened to during the COVID, and even now, producers, they're very few right now in Trinidad, it seems, you know. COVID, a lot of them stopped, and then, well, some of our good friends have passed, like Raymond Chukong, which we would love to dedicate this production to, Gregory Singh. And so Penny and I realized, well, shoots, we have to pick up the mantle and do it ourselves. Nobody's going to do it for us anymore. So we have to do it.
Now, you mentioned COVID, you mentioned the lockdowns, and of course, PC Productions was born as of a need to pivot, to find a way to continue doing what you love. How did COVID, how did that lockdown affect you in terms of both of you, in terms of your art, your ability to express yourself and to continue, and how you made it to 2023 to be able to start back in what we would call the theater season in Trinidad and Tobago?
Well, it was very hard in that 2 years because we were restricted, all the theaters were closed, and so our finance generating money for us was very difficult. I mean, my school at Necessary Arts, we couldn't do classes, you know, it was horrible. I know some people, companies, dance company and stuff closed up shop. So it was really bad at one point. And then, I mean, we are creatives, and we always think about how can we make ourselves do justice with our craft and be able to finance ourselves. So it's always about getting the work out there, you know, and that's how we came about it. And we've had some minor success, not bad success. You know, we had some good successes that we felt that, you know, this could work. And then coming into 2023 now, this is our last year we did a small production, and as well, COVID Carnival comedy, and we're just excited about this one because this wasn't planned by us to do, but God said, "Here, take it, do it," and we're going in faith because it's really good material. Wow. And this 2023 is about, you know, advancement, is about finding ourselves and making our company more in the forefront of theater because. Yes, we are here, and we have to make our presence felt.
I have to say, too, I would add to that the COVID was very, very bad. It was very, very hard. I had to move back home, you know, lots of things like that. But I think, as Penny mentioned, being a creative, some people might give up, but we did not. We said, okay, what can we do? How can we pivot, as you call it? And we went together with Stephen Dubal, and we did 2 online shows. With, of course, where people could fund a GoFundMe account, and it was successful. I mean, as I say, not hugely. We didn't, no
millionaires.
No, but people supported us, and I think because we were creative, we were able to find new ways to do things, and that's what we have to keep doing. And so maybe out of the COVID, something, you know, blossomed, which was PC Productions. And so now this is our first production where we do have half a house. And, you know, but half a house means also full rent and full bills. So we need the support of Trinidad and Tobago.
And this is our first production by ourselves because we've always had somebody there with us, you know? And so, yes, this is our first production totally on our own. So, and it's really good material. All the actors and the cast, they are excited about it. We're still laughing at ourselves. And of course, you know, we have so much material right now, you know, so we're getting real juicy material to work on. So it's positively wonderful and fun.
What else is on the calendar for PC Productions for the rest of this year?
Well, for August, for sure for August, we will be doing our camp again, Camp Tippy Tambo, which is a camp all about our local culture, arts, entertainment, cuisine of Trinidad and Tobago. When we did it online, we had children from all over the world joining. It was quite exciting. And so now this year we'll be able to do it live, and hopefully still have that element of virtual where people can, join from, we had children from Scotland, Jamaica, Canada, whose parents want them to learn about Trinidad culture. So they're learning about carnival characters, but in a fun, of course, in a dramatic way, And it was really wonderful. So we plan to do that for August again. And then we have a children's show normally at Christmas. So those are just two things. You may see more as we brainstorm. Let's get through this production.
Yes.
Now, you both make it sound so easy to come up with an idea. I know it's not. As a producer myself, I know it's not. But you make it sound so easy. You come up with this idea, you say you're going to do this, and a production appears. Tell us a little bit about what is really involved in getting this production from concept to actually being on stage.
Well, the material, you want to get material that your audience would enjoy, so getting the material is the first thing, and then getting a space that we could do this production in, and getting a cast that can work, the right cast. And I'm really proud of our cast now. We've been working since December.
Yeah.
I think, yeah. So we've gelled so nicely. So they're all those elements are the main and sponsors.
Yeah. So after Penny does a lot of the creative work, then we have to, when you book the space, you have to, well, as you know, as a producer, there's so much things, scheduling, loading, tech, set, lights. It's not just the actors. There's so many other costumes, makeup, props, so many other things that slowly come along the way. And of course, we've written letters to sponsors. And we have a few. NP graciously gave us, a modest sum to help offset some of the bills. But I really wish we could get a lot more sponsors in Trinidad who see the need and the value of the theater. Because, of course, we are taking a risk. We have to pay all these bills. We have to pay the set. We have to pay the lights. We have to pay Central Bank Auditorium. We have to pay the actors. So we are always taking a risk as producers. Of course, if the house sells out, we will have enough money to be able to do another production, which is what it's all about. But if it doesn't, then Penny Gill, it's just a joke. We are confident we're going through this bravely, manifesting only positive results. But it would be really great that there were more sponsors. I don't know, what is the word sponsor? What is the word for people who endorse the arts, people who come out and see the value and say, I want to be a part of this. Or I even want to, I want to invest in this, I want to invest in this and see it grow. So if there are any partners out there.
Yeah. Let's give them our number, 798-1919 or 683-4843. If you're interested in supporting us in any way, please call. And as a teacher who's been in this business for over 20-something years, I know and understand the value of the arts, So I really, I love the soca and carnival just left, and most sponsors invested their money there. But theater is a good investment, and and I want to see that us Marians, cooperate with theater more.
Now, I would have introduced you all in the opening, both of you as acting and theater giants here in Trinidad and Tobago, and we need to say a special thank you to both of you for the contributions that you've made to theater and arts with Necessary Arts, Miss Spencer, as well as, your portrayal of the various characters bringing comedy to life here in Trinidad and Tobago. What you just mentioned, the need for arts, you just mentioned Carnival, where we've seen the arts literally come alive, and the expression of the arts, what the young people get involved in, why they get involved. What would you say, Ms. Spencer, is necessary for more young people to get involved in theater arts in Trinidad and Tobago?
Well, I think it really starts in the home. I have children who tell me my mother or my father think that this is just a hobby, and they want them to go more for being lawyers or teachers or doctors, so I think it needs to understand to start from the home. I mean, I always say to myself, and the Caribbean people, we have such small-minded opinions of artists sometimes that I really wish they could really open up themselves more. You know, some of the things that I hear children will say about why their parents don't want them in the arts is really ridiculous. And I'm glad, like, you know, Denzel Washington's mother didn't say those things. You know, I don't want my son in the arts, you know, or Winston Duke, you know, because it really starts in the home to try and hone in your child talent. I think every child is talented in some way. Sing, dance, act, play an instrument, they have it in them. You know, and I think it's important that parents let's bring it out, because some schools have a drama teacher or a dance teacher, but not all. And then from there, you know, go in the schools. And I mean, a lot of things have changed from when I used to go to school. They're doing SB on theater arts now. That was a non-existent when I was younger. So, I mean, we are seeing some changes, but I think we can see some more.
And as Penelope said, with the family, now we have to look at the flip side. If we had a thriving industry, if parents could see my child can make a living at this, then they would encourage them. I mean, I had very special parents who allowed me to study and do what I wanted to do. And as Penelope and I are making a living off of this, but it's hard work. You know, it takes a lot of drive and a lot of willpower to keep this going. But if there was an industry, so that we need to develop that on the other side as well, so that we need to develop the respect for it in the community as well. And I have to add too that theater is not only for acting. Drama is not only for going on stage. When we do it in schools, we see children, you know, just come out of themselves, open up, learn a lot more about themselves, learn a lot more about life, learn about teamwork, communication, getting along, problem solving. There's so many things.
Dealing with your emotions. A lot of young boys now don't understand how to deal with their emotions.
Yeah.
So theater could be so rewarding, so rewarding.
And then you learn to talk plenty like the two of us. Sorry.
Thank you so very much to Penelope Spencer and Cecilia Salazar. We look forward to Trinbago's Sweet Too Bad taking place this Saturday and Sunday at the Central Bank Auditorium. Tickets available at the box office.
And we have in Long Circular Mall, we have Doman Shoe Store, the level 1. We have Beachology at Santa Maria Plaza on Mokorapo Road. And we have J&M Ice Cream near to Vinimage. So you can get tickets all over.
Yes, come and give yourself a mental break.
Thank you very much again, and all the best this weekend.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
We're going to take a quick break and come back with more AM Prime.
FanZone, your reliable, authentic supplier, has just gotten better. You can now visit our website www.fanzonett.com for your authentic wear and collectibles. The only place where you can use both your Visa debit and credit cards. Visit our website fanzonett.com to make your purchase today.
The best laptops and tablets are at dbesttoys.com. Get a Gateway 14.1-inch Ultra Slim notebook or an HP 14-inch laptop at the best prices in TNT. Get the Fire 7 tablet for $474. You can also shop the latest Amazon Fire Sticks. Call now at 32-DBEST to order or visit us in-store at Forces flagship MacBean. Shop online now at dbesttoys.com. Free delivery available throughout Trinidad and Tobago. Cash or links on delivery.
The continued rise in the price of flour and its impact on the cost of living in Trinidad and Tobago. How should we go about it? I want to ask you, what has been revealed to you about the state of vulnerability in the country because of this exercise and because of what we're going through? Is the government losing the war on the vaccine front?
The discussion should revolve around the common good for the greatest number of people in Trinidad and Tobago.
How do we inculcate a sense of respect and regard for people who may not be of your own political ilk or persuasion?
The communities are now being used by
political opportunist. So
when the tables are turned, it's the same way. Okay, this has been 10 questions. I'm Andy Johnson, and we'll see you next time.
Welcome back. And joining us in the winner's row this morning is Calypso Monarch 2023, Dwayne Tazea O'Connor. Good morning, Tazea.
Good morning, good morning.
Congratulations, congratulations, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
How does it feel to be the 2023 Calypso Monarch?
Well, I am elated. I'm so excited about it and thankful. Thankful is one of my biggest emotions that I feel right now.
Now, especially after your father's 2012 title, he would have captured the title in 2012, and you're coming now in 2023 to capture the title. You mentioned in your interview after the competition that the title meant more than anything else. Can you explain what you meant by that?
Because, you know, often they ask you, so is it the car, how much money you get, where you're going to spend the money on, what you're going to do with the money? I didn't even, in that moment, I wasn't even thinking about, well, I will buy clothes, I will buy this, or going to take a drive. I was thinking, wow, after all the hard work, it finally paid off.
And what was your father's response what was your father's reaction?
Well, I think he's more excited than I am.
Now, how long have you been singing? How long have you been involved in calypso and singing in general?
But I've been singing my whole life because my father is in it. So it wasn't like I just decided to sing on a whim. But I started singing professionally only in 2015 in Junior Monarch. And this is the first year I am entering the Calypso Monarch, the senior competition.
And what was the experience like at this being your first ever Calypso Monarch competition and winning? What was the experience like for you?
It was a good experience because this first year, I made it all the way to the finals, of course, because I won. And I also made it to Young Kings, the Young Kings Calypso Monarch competition, and I placed second. And I also was accepted into Kaiso House 10. So this year was it was really good. It was very, very good, and I'm thankful for it.
All right, so you would have had quite a busy season.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about the performance, the presentation.
Well, the presentation that I did for the finals, I sat and I was thinking about what could I do, because obviously my song is about Trinidad and Tobago. And, you know, everybody would think, let's just bring Moko Jumbies and mask costumes on the stage and some Trinidad flags. And I sat and I was thinking, what different could I do? And I came up with that concept of having me coming out of the clouds with the Hallelujah. And myself, if anyone knows me, they know I make everything for myself. So all of my props were made by me. I sat at home and I drafted everything and I did everything.
Wow, such talent in such a young person. You're only 20 years old, yes?
Yes, I am.
Tell me, what is your music influenced by? Sing Hallelujah, as you said, was about Trinidad and Tobago. What influences your music? What or who?
I think it has to be my father, because I look up to him so much as an artist, because he has a lot of perseverance, because, you know, it's not an easy thing to be singing. I think he's singing for 30 years. And to be singing for that long, it's a lot, because the competition aspect of it in Calypso is not easy. You know, yes, I was lucky that I came in for the first time and I won the Calypso Monarch, but it's not always like that for everyone. So I think he is my biggest influence.
And what can we expect of you for the rest of the year?
Well, I am definitely having a concert, because I had 2 sold-out shows in the pandemic at Queen's Hall. So this would be my third show at Queen's Hall. I am looking at April. So you could look out for something there.
Okay, great. And we hope to see you again next year, 2024, of course, when you come to defend your title.
Of course.
All righty. Great. Thank you so very much for joining us this morning. Dwayne Tazea O'Connor, our 2023 Calypso Monarch. Thanks again, and congratulations to you.
Thank you, and thank you very much for having me here.
We're going to take a quick break and come back with our Watch This segment here on AM Prime. Thanks for staying with us here on AM Prime this morning. We are going into our Watch This segments now. And for our Watch This video, it's a little humor by our local comedian, Jules. We hope that this was not you on Ash Wednesday. Let's watch.
Woo! Work nothing! Mr. Bill!
Yeah, boss.
Why aren't you in work yet?
I feel real sick.
Sick?
I'll come in tomorrow, I'll let you know.
Why you sound like you're on the beach?
No.
Oh, interesting. I'll come here, bye.
Local comedian Jules watched this video this morning. That's how we wrap the show today. Thanks for staying with us here on AM Prime. Be sure to look out for Keaton and Sean. They're up at the top of the hour with Talking Point. Check us out on all our socials at WESNCC. And to get in touch with us here at AM Prime, you can email us at amprimewesn@gmail.com. I'm Leanne Jones. Do have a great day. I'll see you again tomorrow.